Good Will Hunting is one of those movies that reminds you how rare it is to get something smart, emotional, funny, and completely human without turning any of it into a gimmick. I recently rewatched it, and honestly, it holds up, not in a good for its time way. It still works because underneath the math, therapy, and big speeches, this is really about a scared young man who would rather waste his life than risk finding out he could have something worth losing. Before I get into it, like and follow if you're into movie reviews where we actually say what we think. The movie is basically about Will Hunting, a janitor at MIT who can solve problems that leave professors staring at chalkboards for years, but keeps using all that intelligence to get into fights, insult people, and make sure nobody gets close enough to know him. After another arrest, Professor Lambeau gets him out of jail under two conditions: work on mathematics with him, and start seeing a therapist. That therapist is Sean Maguire, and that relationship is where the movie becomes something much better. What makes this movie work is that it never treats Will's intelligence like the solution to his life. In a weaker version, the whole story would be about him getting discovered, landing a huge job, and proving everyone wrong. Good Will Hunting understands that being the smartest person in the room means very little when you are terrified of being loved, failing, and even succeeding. The Harvard bar scene shows both sides of him perfectly. Will destroys the smug student trying to embarrass Chucky. He remembers the books, arguments, and even the pages the guy is stealing his opinions from. Then he gets Skylar's number and delivers the "How do you like them apples" line. It is funny and satisfying. But the rest of the movie reveals that this confidence is armor. Will can humiliate a stranger because there is no emotional risk. The moment Skylar asks him to be honest, the smartest guy in the room has nowhere to hide. That is why the scenes between Matt Damon and Robin Williams are still so powerful. Their first meeting is basically a fight. Will studies Sean's books, painting, and life, and then finds the one subject that can hurt him. Sean does not fold like the other therapists. He warns Will never to disrespect his wife again, then comes back the next week. He becomes one of the first people who sees exactly what Will is doing and refuses to abandon him. Sean tells him that reading about art does not mean he knows what the Sistine Chapel smells like. Reading about war does not mean he has watched a friend die. And reading about love does not mean he has ever made himself vulnerable. The point is not that books are useless. It is that Will has collected knowledge so he never has to admit how little life he has allowed himself to experience. I also love that the movie is genuinely funny. Chucky and the guys feel like people who have known each other forever. They insult each other, fight, tell ridiculous stories, and still make their loyalty believable. Ben Affleck's construction site speech is an honest moment in the film. Chucky tells Will that staying there would not be loyalty, it would be an insult. The best 10 seconds of his day are the walk from the car to Will's door because he hopes one day Will not be there. That is real friendship. He loves Will enough to admit that losing him is exactly what he wants. Skylar works for the same reason. She is not there just to reward Will for being brilliant. She challenges the lie he has built around himself. When she asks him to come to California, he immediately imagines every way it could go wrong. Then he attacks her money, background, and feelings because pushing her away feels safer than believing she might love him. Their argument hurts because you can see him choosing to destroy the relationship before she gets the chance to leave. Real talk, Robin Williams is the soul of this movie. Matt Damon is great, but Williams gives the story its warmth. Sean is not some perfect therapist who has life figured out. He is grieving, lonely, stubborn, and hiding from parts of his own life. His story about missing the 1975 World Series because he had to see about a girl could have felt overly sentimental, but Williams makes it feel like a memory he has carried for decades. He is showing Will what it costs to care about someone. And then there is the "it's not your fault" scene, repeating one sentence that many times should not work, but it breaks through every joke, insult, and defense Will has used. You watch him go from pretending he understands to getting angry to finally allowing himself to believe it. The movie earns that moment because it spends so much time showing us how hard he works to avoid it. If I have one small criticism, a few moments feel obviously written to become iconic scenes. Some speeches are almost too perfect, and the early therapist montage is broader and sillier than the rest of the film. But the performances are so natural that even the polished dialogue still feels emotionally true. That is why the ending works. Will does not choose the impressive job the professors plan or the future everyone else designed for him. He takes the ugly car his friends built and goes to see about a girl. It is not just a romantic ending. It is the first time he makes a decision based on hope instead of fear. So yeah, Good Will Hunting is still a solid 8 out of 10 for me. Not because it is about a genius solving impossible mathematics, but because it understands that the hardest problem in Will's life is believing he deserves more than survival. I still love every moment of it, and rewatching it made me wish movies like this were made more often, movies driven by dialogue, character, friendship, and people changing. What do you think is the best scene? The park bench, "It's not your fault," or Chucky's speech? Let me know and follow for more movie reviews.